Welcome back, everybody, to Real Talk Realty Podcast, where we put the real in real estate. You're with your host, JD.
And Gabby.
And Louis Namick.
And we have the most special of all special guests. I know we say special every week, but we got really the special guest because it's his podcast, okay?
You cannot get any more special than this.
This desk, this lights, the camera, the thing, everything
and
here.
I even wore the right shirt.
You wore the right shirt.
Namesake on the wall.
Yep. Welcome none other than the Rob Krop.
Welcome.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
By the way, big shout out to my people over at The Perfect Blend here in downtown Frederick. They do an amazing job over there. And it's within walking distance of our office on Broadway. So I'm always walking down there getting my favorite thing there, the Southwest chicken wrap.
That was
banging.
That was delicious.
It was really good.
And they sell all kinds of really cool stuff in there. Like they got different syrups if you're into making your own espresso at home. They sell coffee. They sell all kinds of cafe-related items. So go check them out down in downtown Frederick. We are super stoked to have Rob on here, the real estate guru behind this screen, and now he's in front of it. So thanks for coming on, Rob.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So we wanted to talk to you about an array of things, but let's start here. How did you get into real estate, Rob? Where did your career start? How many years ago?
So that's taking me back 2 decades.
Oh,
I
dang.
can't believe that that's actually a thing I can say now.
That's insane.
Yeah. So 20 years into real estate right now. Got my start. My dad actually owned a mortgage company, and he didn't like working with realtors and thought, you know what, then why don't you get your license and do this? And so this was during the 2005 when the housing market was exploding. And so we actually started a limited listing company where we just put a listing on the internet for a fee, and that was pretty much it. And so back in the day, you would throw a sign on the ground, the house would sell. So we were doing that.
You would do
on
photos and stuff.
It was a la carte, so it's up to the person. So we had a fee to just put it on the MLS versus just being on the FSBO websites. And then the crash happened 2007 into 2008, and that model really didn't work anymore because houses were very hard to sell, and people, in fact, didn't really want to buy houses. So much so, the Realtor Association used to run ads telling people that home buying was still a great choice. Because after that crash, it was definitely a hard thing to help people realize that, especially a lot of people that were underwater, myself included. I bought in 2007. I lived in my first house for 8 years before I could sell it for basically what I owed.
Dang.
Yeah.
I would imagine that time in real estate was very scary just because the uncertainty of what was going on and that we had never seen anything like that, where people pretty much just completely holding off and just waiting to see what was going to happen.
It affected the entire country.
Yeah.
Really, it did.
I mean, there were just a lot of people, like I was saying, myself even included, you couldn't do anything.
Right.
Unless you could come up with the money. Or in that time, we did a lot of short sales, which is in the event that you owe more money than the house is worth, and there's a reason that you have to sell. Maybe it's your job loss, or your job's moving you to another state, or you had a divorce or an income issue. Then we'd go down the short sale route, essentially selling the house short of what was owed, which was the majority of my beginning of my career. And for those that aren't aware of those, with the short sale, you got to wait for the bank to approve that. So instead of a 30, 60-day settlement, these deals were on average a year.
Wow.
Dang.
Wow, a year.
And I remember vividly getting into 2015 and starting to see houses that said it was a standard sale and not a short sale. And I was so excited for my clients. I'm like, you're going to be able to move in 60 days. This is pretty
Wow. Cool. That's crazy.
Yeah. So after that shift and that change, I realized that List It Homes was the company that we started where we did the limited listings, wasn't going to be the thing. And so at that time, the idea was you become a realtor, and then eventually you become a broker, and then you have the brokerage and the agents underneath you. And so we looked at the different companies that were doing that, and ultimately landed on the RE/MAX franchise. And I ran those for about 10 years. I had 2 RE/MAX franchises here in Urbana and downtown Frederick.
Oh, I didn't even realize that you had 2.
Yep. And there just came a point where I realized that managing realtors wasn't really the business for me, and a lot of things had changed into the team, the team aspect, and that kind of became the brokerage within inside a brokerage, and ultimately was the new, tier to that everybody was reaching towards. And so for me, I really wanted to help more people buy and sell real estate. And on the brokerage level, I was just helping a lot of independent contractors doing their own business. And so I was like, what I really would love to do is help hundreds of people in a way that I know is going to be the most impactful. And so that started the Rob Krop team.
I would imagine that being a broker, correct me if I'm wrong, I would imagine that being a broker, you are simply like the majority of what you're doing. Obviously, you're empowering your agents, providing value and things like that. But I also feel like a lot of it is like staying out of hot water and keeping other agents staying out of hot water, which could be like super annoying and not really that fulfilling.
Yeah, a lot of my broker questions were legal things because, if you have enough agents, we had 50, 60 agents at any time. And so with that many agents and that many deals going across the table, there's going to be some lawsuits. Definitely sharpened my skills on contracts. It forced me to really know the information really well. And so that's why when you guys have lots of questions, I can rattle them off because I've just spent so much time reading the contracts and understanding it.
Yeah.
Definitely gave me what I would say is an honorary JD, for real estate.
Yeah.
That leads me to my question is, what do you look for in an agent when you are looking for an agent to join your team? What are the qualifications and what do you look for in that person to become an agent on your team?
Well, ultimately, in real estate, it's so relational, and I'm not necessarily looking for somebody that has a ton of real estate experience prior, but I'm looking for somebody that knows how to talk to people and solve problems for people and that have empathy and care about the people that they work with. I really look more for somebody in sales and communication because that's going to be, you can teach the real estate aspect and the contracts and those pieces, but it's really hard to teach how to be a person. How to have a personality.
Yeah, right.
That's a good statement.
And it's something that I always love. Ryan Serhant, he always say, nobody loves going shop. Nobody loves buying real estate, but they love shopping with friends. And I find that it's there's so many different personalities. Right before we got on, we're talking about the 4 different personalities just in how we dress today. And it's like that's why I want to have. That's why
Gabby.
it's so important that there are different personalities that we're going to connect with. And so I really look for people. I mean, you're making fun, but like I'm sitting here with 3 amazing realtors from our team. So
hey,
that's there's no handcuffs on these guys. They're running this podcast, all them, because I trust them. They do a great job. They're very knowledgeable and they know what they're talking about and they care about their clients. We're looking for people that want to help more people and want to grow a business in real estate. The rest will follow.
Right.
absolutely.
You always told me if you just do the things.
Just do the thing.
Do the things, you will be successful with this business.
And everybody knows what the things are.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what the thing is. Pick up the dang phone. Dial the number.
Pass out your
Yes.
business card.
Yeah.
Talk to people.
Oh
Jinx.
my gosh.
That's true.
The best part about real estate is that being in this business is great because at the end of the day, I'm not selling Amway or Ginsu knives. No offense. Everybody needs a house.
Yeah.
They're looking to buy. They're looking to rent. They're looking to sell. Or they're looking to invest. Period. Nobody's looking to be homeless.
Right.
Everybody needs a place to live.
Right.
That's true.
Very, very true.
It's the most recession-proof business you could be in.
It really is. And also, I feel like we're super blessed to be in the market that we are in because just the DMV in general, even in 2008 when the market crashed, I mean, it did affect the whole nation. However, if you look at some pockets in the middle of the country or elsewhere, man, they're still feeling effects from it, and I feel like this area bounced back relatively quickly. I mean, it was like 7 or 8 years, but look at it now. I mean, I really believe in this market specifically. And you get that question from clients all the time. JD, what do you think about, specifically people that are buying starter homes? What do you think is going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years? Like, am I going to be able to upgrade? And being able to show them the map of the median purchase price here in the area and showing them, okay, this is what's happened for the guy who bought in 2015 or whatever, and showing them how much equity they have now. It's really nice to have that.
Right, it is, for sure. One thing I love about our team is that we get all our knowledge at our team meetings on every Tuesday. There's never been a team meeting where we did not learn something.
Yeah.
And Rob is excellent at keeping his agents on their toes, and he does a phenomenal job of putting the effort into making sure that we are totally educated.
Well, even like this too. Rob is the resource guy, okay? So we needed some lights, we needed a sign. We just make the call, he sends it over. He helped put up this wall here, he helped us hang the light. He's hands-on, he's out here in the field.
Yes.
And like, okay, because me, like, I call him and like text him like all the time with a million different questions.
All the time.
And even though I know he's yelling at me.
She's allowed, and I'm not yelling.
He's not. Like, I've never been on the phone with him and I heard him, like, annoyed, but I know sometimes he's yelling at me.
I'm never yelling.
But, like, he always is just so happy to help or answer your question. And
She's
so, like,
imagining this, huh?
Yeah. No, she thinks everybody's yelling at her all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true, though, Gabby.
Yeah.
There's never been a time where I have texted Rob or called him. He's always been there. He always is there for us to answer our questions.
All right, we're love bombing Rob right now.
and
We're love bombing.
And he always has the answer. He always has the answer. So
that kind of leads me into what I was going to say. So you are having the experience as being a broker, right? So that is so big because it gives you a plethora of knowledge, educating your agents, staying current with new laws and new regulations and things coming out. And you stay ahead of the curve in that way. So how do you feel that being a broker has translated over into helping you run a real estate team now?
Definitely different. Ultimately, I haven't gotten rid of my habits of researching and reading on whenever new laws come out and new paperwork, new contracts, and understanding what's happening, staying on top of those things. I'm still doing this. I'm still keeping on top of the same things that I was as a broker, but now when it's time to talk to attorneys, I can pass that over to Damon or Mike.
Right.
And I much prefer that.
Yeah, that's way better. Way better.
I just wanted to bring back one point that you said. One of the things that 2007, 2008 timeframe was definitely the fluke. And, it was a one time where we saw like an actual dip in the market and where it took some time to come back.
It did.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that are wondering, hey, should I wait? Like 2020 when prices were going crazy, should I wait? Well, I'll wait till prices come down. Those people are kicking themselves.
They are.
Just like that video, that reel you sent me last night.
Yeah. Those people are kicking themselves. And I think it's really important to be able to continually let people know kind of where the market's at, in that right now the market's in a great place and we have a very low amount of inventory. I mean, we just talked about it this morning. We're 1.9 months of worth of inventory. To have a stable market is 6. So we're still in a crazy low inventory market, which means for the next however many years to get to a more stable market, prices are just going to keep going up. If you're hesitating or waiting because you think prices might go down, it's just not.
Not going to happen.
But Rob, there's a recession coming.
So for the last 6 recessions, only once did prices drop during that recession. And that was during the 2007, 2008 market
So you don't
crash.
think we'll see that again?
It was false. They were false interest rates. They were unrealistic prices. It wasn't based on anything truly real. Like, there's a real need for properties right now, and there aren't. And because of the scarcity, the price is where it's at. It was an inflated market, and it was only bound to happen. Obviously, we didn't all see that. But what we see in the market now is when you look at the amount of inventory, you can see that we're not heading anywhere near like what we were before.
Right.
And I think that's really important because there's a lot of people wondering, should I not buy right now because interest rates are so high? But the two they're not correlating together, in that eventually the interest rates should come down, but the prices will continue to go up.
Right.
Buy now at those higher interest rates if you can afford it, and refi when they come down.
What do you say to the people that are holding off because, well, I don't want to buy right now because the tariffs, we don't know what's going to go on with the tariffs?
Again, at the end of the day, it still comes down to the inventory. I think the biggest thing that the tariffs are going to change really only is going to affect the new home market, in that lumber prices, because a lot of lumber comes from Canada, There may be some other different materials coming from other countries that might be affected by that, but that's only going to affect the cost of the build. And again, we don't know what's going to happen with that. It may be those countries, they may eat that tariff. They may eat part of it. The builders may eat part of it. Because at the end of the day, buyers can only spend so much. And if the house price doesn't match what's been happening, been selling elsewhere, then they're going to have a hard time selling it.
That's true. Yeah.
Ultimately, if you're in the market and you're thinking about moving and you want to move and you have the ability to move, if you have the finances and you're able to afford the house, I think you should buy the house. Everybody that didn't buy in 2020 is kicking themselves. We're up 40%.
I know.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
Now, we're not going to see that same insane increase like we did from 2020, but we're still seeing a pretty consistent 4 to 5% increase year over year, and that's what they're anticipating also this year.
Yeah, and I think the only way that we would ever see large increases like that would be, again, if for some reason the interest rates came down low. But based off everything that we're seeing, even in the next year or two, I mean, we'd be like happy to be in the mid 5s. You know what I mean? The high 2s and low 3s.
That never happened
It's
again.
just, it might, but I don't think any time.
Not in my lifetime.
Yeah. Well, Louis.
Yeah.
And that is the thing. So they're right now rates. They're not planning on dropping them.
Yeah.
So every time they meet, they're a little unsure, and I get it. There's a little bit unsure. They're unsure about part of the tariffs and what that actually will happen to the economy. And honestly, don't lower the rates.
Yeah.
Just wait. If they lower too much, you will see an increase in prices that I think could become even more unsustainable.
Right.
Because again, consider we have such little inventory.
Yeah. What do you think it would take in order to get back into the 6 months worth of inventory or like a neutral market?
Money, the interest rates would climb.
Go up super high. Houses
Money's
would sit.
expensive, guys.
It's
Yeah.
actually really, it's really not, though, in comparison to the last 20 years. It's really not.
That's what Rob says. Rob says money's expensive.
Well, it feels expensive to people right now because the prices of homes are also exponentially more. But if you're just talking like the price to borrow itself, just the price to borrow itself is not that high. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I mean, it's not astronomical versus the double-digit, interest rates that we had back in the 80s and 90s.
True.
But like,
Back when Louis was buying houses.
No, not me. My mom and dad. They paid 18%.
Oh my gosh.
My goodness.
but the main issue is that people's wages haven't gone up incrementally as much as home prices have gone up.
Right.
And even though the interest rates aren't unreasonable, 6% is not an unreasonable interest rate. I'm not that old, and my first house was almost 6%. So I was on the come down in the mid-5s, but it's doable, but it's more expensive to a lot of people because they're just a lot of it is what used to cost in our area $500,000. It just doesn't go as far as it used to, and so for that reason, I think people feel that it's much more expensive because you see the memes online, like what you dreamed about as $1 million home as a kid versus today.
Gosh. It's like the house that a 6-year-old draws.
Yeah.
Like a door.
Depending on how close you get to DC, they're cracker boxes for $1 million, and that's. I didn't think we were going to see as many $1 million houses in Frederick as we do now.
That's insane, actually, if you really think about it. How many? That's incredible.
My first house with Lisa, we brand new construction. We paid $167,000.
Oh my gosh, that was so good.
It sold last month for the second time at $1.1 million.
What?
Are you serious?
Wow. Yeah.
Where is it?
In South Florida.
Oh, wow.
And you didn't hold on to it, Louis?
No.
Louis.
Oh my gosh.
We didn't all have crystal ball. We didn't know.
That's true. That is so true.
Yeah.
And Louis, now you have is an investment property, right, down in Florida?
We do.
And is that you Airbnb it?
We rent it out 2 years right now for clients who are building their house on Amelia Island.
Oh,
It's
nice.
going to take them 2 years to build this massive house.
Oh, wow.
So we rented it out to them, and I structured it where we totally furnished the entire house ourselves
Yeah.
to get a certain clientele.
Yeah.
We didn't want anybody going in there, moving their stuff in,
Right.
and getting a different clientele. This is professional
That's
clientele.
smart.
Yeah.
How did you find him?
Lisa did that. She went online and started advertising the house. I had nothing to do with it.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
When did you buy this house?
2 years ago. Almost 2 years ago.
So during all of this craziness, it's still a great time to buy an investment property.
Absolutely.
That is so funny because there's a whole lot of people right now who just don't think it's a good time to invest.
It's always a good time to invest.
Yeah.
Always.
House prices are going up.
Yeah.
Rents are going up.
Rents are going up.
Rents are going up to the point where people can't afford the rent, and it's easier to buy a house.
Right. Right.
Really, seriously.
Yeah.
We're working with a lot of investors.
Yeah.
I mean, throughout the team, many of us have on our client list a lot of investors looking for properties. It's a phenomenal time to invest.
Not to mention all the jobs that are coming to Frederick right now and like biotech and all the different things that are going on. There's the rental market's good.
Yeah. Frederick is definitely changing.
My dad always would tell me that in a good market, people rent.
Yeah.
And in a bad market, people have to rent.
Yeah.
So having an investment property, people are doing well.
Yeah.
I mean, rental income is going up the same as mortgages. So Pete, we're helping. I mean, we've helped a couple people in this last year purchase some great investments, and they're making great returns on it. Just because the prices are up on those rentals, also the rent is up, and making more money. So,
right.
People that are on the edge, thinking, should I consider an investment? Give us a call. We'll do a performer.
Yeah.
We'll show you.
Yeah.
I mean, we're running performers on properties that constantly are making good numbers.
Hey, Rob, why don't you tell the viewers who have no idea what a performer is what a performer is?
So when you're looking at buying an investment property, you evaluate it very differently than you would if you're just looking at a home to buy. A home you're purchasing for residential use, a single residential use, you're going to compare based on other single family homes like it and make adjustments to it. On an investment property, you're looking at it based on the income it's going to produce. And so ultimately you're evaluating the property based on how much income you're actually going to make. So we're not looking at any investments that aren't going to make you income because we're able to run those numbers. And the one thing that's very interesting, because I also have a property management company with Joe Lawman, who you've had on before.
Yeah.
And we found that a lot of people have investment properties and aren't charging much for rent. And they haven't increased the rent. And that's the reason a lot of people are getting rid of those properties. And we're finding that our clients are able to go in, buy this property, increase the rent to where it needs to be, and they're making great money doing that. So if you see stuff out there, like there's a good possibility someone's not really utilizing the property right. Maybe they haven't updated it.
Right.
They're like, oh, old Betsy down there, she's been there for 15 years with her oxygen tank. We can't increase the rent on her.
Oh my gosh.
That is really tough. That's where property management
Do people ever
definitely
come
comes
to
in, though.
you and say, I already have an investment property and they want to raise the rents, but they don't have the gusto to do it, and then they call you and then you come in and raise them?
We have a client that specifically hired us so that we would be the bad guy.
Ooh.
Love it.
And but here's the thing, like, someone might see that as like, oh, that's not very nice. It's like, well, it is what it is. Like, it's just the rent, and that's someone's business, and that's how they make a living is they
It's
have
business.
properties for people. Yeah.
It's business.
And obviously we want to be empathetic. And
Sometimes I
kind
get
to
caught up
people.
in the TikTok comments, people talking about, why is the rent? You never seen those memes where it's like, my house hasn't changed at all, or like, my rent's gone up, and, and like they're just super mad about it. And it's like, but this is their property. This is their investment. They're protecting their family. You have a roof over your head,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's also on the landlord when something breaks. It's their responsibility
Right.
to fix it. So, and the cost of that has gone up. Taxes are going up. I mean, we live in Maryland. Just in the last couple months,
Yeah.
Wes Moore has
Spend more.
has definitely increased everyone's taxes 20+%.
That's unreal.
I don't know how many CMAs that we were doing that week.
Yeah.
When he announced that, because we're trying to go back and contest all the taxes.
Taxing services.
Rob, it's been a pleasure having you on board in our
Thanks, guys.
podcast. It was
And we're gonna have him back, guys.
Yeah.
We're gonna have him back
because he
Gabby
wants to keep us here for another hour.
No, we all except for Gabby. She's our head editor in chief, and let me tell you, she is not on the ball today. Okay, so we're busting her up a little bit.
We'll do it after hours.
Yeah, we'll do it after hours.
He's got a vast knowledge.
Yeah.
That we can't. We didn't even.
No,
touch.
we didn't even scrape the surface.
we
but
should have him here
I'll come
once a
back.
month.
Yeah, there we go.
Once a month.
No, he didn't sign up for all that.
I'll do it.
No, but thank you so much, Rob, for hopping on. You have been a blessing to the podcast, and you've helped us all with our careers and guidance, and we appreciate that so greatly. So we were so happy to finally have you on for our 15th episode. And there will be some more special guests coming up here in the future, and you will see. You're just going to have to wait to see who it is. But thank you guys so much for joining us today. I hope you have an amazing rest of your week, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.
See ya.